It's time for one of them videos, a video that you guys are going to hate me for or love me for, depending where I put your side. Remember, this is only just predictions, and this is just my opinion. First ever time I'm doing League One predictions, so I'm going to get some things wrong. Maybe, if I'm lucky, get something right. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think the 1 to 24 table will look like come the end of match week 46 in League One. If you do go on to enjoy, be sure to drop a like and subscribe as always. Really does help us out on the channel. League One predictions for the 2024/25 season. Let's go. We're going to begin at the bottom. I'll work our way up to the top. The only way to do it. Let's start then with 24th place. I've gone with newly promoted, the playoff winners, Crawleytown. Of course, they come up through the playoffs last season and finished 7th in League Two. But I don't know what's going on at Crawley. They sold their best players after getting promoted. The likes of Liam Kelly, of course, have gone to MK Dons. Allsey as well's moved on, who looked really good last season for them. So I'm really not sure about Crawley of what they're trying to do here. It looks like they got up against all the odds, and now they're just happy to go back down again. Honestly, I don't see any way that Crawley will finish any higher than this. Nothing against the fan base. I feel like the fan base as well will be pretty confused on what's happened here. But for me, Crawley finished bottom of League One, unfortunately. But please prove me wrong. In 23rd place, I've gone for Northampton. Now, from this point upwards, any team could be in the bottom four. For me, the only nailed-on team to get relegated was Crawley because of, selling their best players. But Northampton, for me, they've lost a few quality players, likes of Mark Leonard, of course, not on loan with them this season. And I do think he was unreal for them last year. Of course, last year they finished 14th, so this would be a huge decline for Northampton. Just nothing there really for me to convince me that they're going to stay up. Now, I can't lie, I don't watch a lot of League One football. This could easily go horribly wrong. But for me, I feel like everyone else above them is stronger than Northampton, which is why I see them going down. Second season syndrome in League One. In 22nd, I've gone for Shrewsbury. Of course, Ryan Bowman leaving and Udo, their top scorer from last season, going to Wycombe Wanderers. Yeah, I'm not too sure about Shrewsbury. Last season finishing in 19th, so just above the dotted line, of course, and staying up. But for me, this season, I don't see them staying up. Shrewsbury to go down this year. In 21st, occupying the final relegation spot, is a team that I really want to see do well and stay up. But for me, I just think they won't be able to do it. I've gone for the team that finished third in League Two last season, Mansfield. Great manager in Brian Clough, but for me, they do lack some quality and squad depth. Like one injury in any position there across the pitch, and you do think, yeah, they're hurt quite a lot. Quinn last season with 12 assists looks really good. And of course, one of their best players in Kayla Dunn looks really exciting. But for me, as I say, squad depth is the issue there for Mansfield. I'd love to see them stay up. I think they have a definite chance of doing so. But for me, I just don't seem... It doesn't seem right to me to put any team above Mansfield in the relegation zone and swap them out, if that makes sense. So for me, Mansfield, in my predictions, will be going down. In 20th place then, just surviving above the dotted line. It's a bit of a surprise. There's a huge drop-off from last season. I've gone for Leytonorient. They've sold their top scorer, pardon pronunciation here, Sotiro, to Bristol Rovers. And I don't know really about Leytonorient. I feel like this could come back to bite me, but I do feel like they'll slip down the table quite a lot this season. And 20th actually, which is maybe a bit of a shock to some Leytonorient fans. There's nothing really there to convince me that they're going to have a good season this year. I think it'll be a big struggle from Leytonorient this time around. Into 19th place, I've got the side that finished 20th last season, Burtonalbion. Now, they've done some really tidy business. The likes of Van Kooten from Stevenage and Daniel Allsey from promoted Crawleytown are really good signings. And for me, they'll just about improve from last season, Burtonalbion, and they'll have a decent season this year once again. In 18th, I've gone for the team that finished 9th last season. A big part of this is losing a key man in Van Kooten, but not only him, but in the dugout, of course, losing Steve Evans, replacing him with, of course, Alex Ravel, who will be in charge for this season, having, taken in charge the last few games after Steve Evans, of course, left for Rotherham at the end of last season. this year, I'm not too sure what to expect from Stevenage. I'd love to put them higher. I was planning on putting them higher, but the inexperience in the dugout, it's great that they're giving them a chance. But for us as football fans to predict the table, basing it off, the manager and the players on the pitch, it's tricky to see how Stevenage can have a successful season yet again this year, having lost a key player, not really brought in much quality from what I've seen. Stevenage fans, if I'm wrong on that, please let me know in the comment section down below. But Alex Ravel as well. I don't know what to expect, I'll be honest. So for me, Stevenage will struggle a little bit this season, but they'll still stay up and they'll still be fine. A lot of people are saying they're going to go down. I don't think it'll be that bad for Stevenage this year. In 17th place, they've gone for Cambridge, a one-place improvement on last season's finish. But under Gary Monk, they brought in a few really good players. Gary Monk was in charge for the last, about 10 games at the end of last season, and actually, got Cambridge going really well. A lot of experience in that side, and they've even brought in some more, the likes of Corey Smith, who was a key player in Derby's promotion back to the Championship last season. Also, they've brought in the likes of Gary Gardner, who played, almost half of the games that Birmingham played in the Championship last season, a very experienced player. And of course, Shane Lavery from Blackpool. He's not, the most clinical striker, not really known for his goal scoring ability, but, under Gary Monk, there's definitely potential there for him to grow into a top player at Cambridge. For me, the one-place improvement, but for me, Cambridge could have a really good season this year. But I don't see them finishing any lower than this. They'll only go higher if my prediction is going to be wrong. In 16th place, I've gone for Reading, the Royals. Now, a big part of this prediction is because of the uncertainty off the pitch. Of course, it really did hurt them last season with a 6-point deduction in the end. And, that squad is not being invested into. Sellers, the manager, did a good job last year to, not get Reading relegated, because it would have been so easy for all the negativity around the club, all the struggles for them just to, everyone to drop their heads and them to go down to League Two. But they did well. And this year, I think they'll finish one place higher than last year. Some quality players, Harvey Nibbs in there. Of course, Femi Aziz in there as well. Some really good players. I really hope Reading sort it out off the pitch sooner rather than later, of course, because, it's a side that definitely belong, at least in the Championship. And, it was only about, I'm a Swansea fan, it was only about, 2011 was 13 years ago. So, that playoff final is incredible how far Reading have dropped off. But no, we need to see Reading back up the league. I think this season will be a bit more of a struggle. Hopefully, though, a takeover happens, and then next season they can start to build up. But this season, again, is just, for me, about not getting relegated for Reading. In 15th, I've gone for Bristol Rovers. Now, this is a tricky one, because you look at the squad of Bristol Rovers and you're thinking that could definitely get top half. But the teams above them, the fact that Bristol Rovers, since they've come up to League One, they finished 15th and 17th. It's a tricky one to predict for you for Bristol Rovers. So I've gone with a safe option of just sticking them where they finished last season. Of course, signing Leytonorent's top goal scorer from last season when they finished 11th is a very positive sign. They've signed a lot of players, mind. And I feel like Bristol Rovers have had a good season. I feel like they'll only finish higher than this, much like with Cambridge. They won't finish any lower than this. So Bristol Rovers, I think they're on course for a solid season. Maybe a bit of a dark horse for the playoffs, but for me, I'm just not too sure how well these guys are going to gel and how quickly. A solid manager as well. Everything points in the right direction for Bristol Rovers, but for me, I've got my doubts about them. 15th this season. In 14th, I've gone for the team that player, Adams Park. Of course, that is Wycombe Wanderers. I feel like they'll have a good season this year. Of course, they've brought in the likes of Udo, Shrewsbury's top scorer from last season. Really good player there for Wycombe. But once again, this season in League One, there's so many top teams that you want to put in the top 6, but filling out these teams in mid-table who might just miss out on the playoffs is really tricky. I do think Wycombe, but, they're not going to be far away from the playoffs. But in terms of positions, they will be, from my predictions. But Baconson as well is a quality player. They've got quality all around the pitch. Let's see what Wycombe can do this season. For me, 14th, but not necessarily miles away from finishing the playoffs. I feel like this, point in the table will be very close between, the teams I put in 6th and this point. In 13th, I've gone for Exetercity. They finished 13th last season. I feel like they'll just miss out on the top half yet again this season. But during my predictions for this, you know, I swapped the teams around quite a lot. And Exeter were one I had originally, you know, 9th place. I really want to back Exeter, and I really do feel like they'll be on course for a good season. The back end of last season, they look really good, Exeter, and I really would love to see them, you know, come up to the Championship as well. It'd be such a great story for Exeter, of course. But for me, I just don't see it this season. Exeter will drop off a little bit. Josh McGuinness is a great signing for Exeter. How many can he bag? He'll definitely help them and score quite a few. But for me, Exeter just fell out the bottom half of the table, finishing in 13th for another season. In 12th place, I've gone for the side that just about lost out on the final day to the playoffs. One of the teams, of course, there was quite a few. I've gone for Lincoln. The second best defensive record in the league last season. However, of course, Sorensen is a huge loss to Huddersfield. But I do feel like, you know, Lincoln's still going to have a solid season. Once again, as I mentioned with Wycombe, every side from about 14th, 15th to around 6th, I can, you know, have a case of putting them maybe as a dark horse for the playoffs and definitely being in the conversation towards the end of the season. For me, Lincoln, a solid side, really have built themselves up really well. The structure of the club is awesome. It's just now taking that next step into actually getting into the playoffs and getting the job done to get to the Championship, of course. I'd love to see it, but for me, Lincoln, I've got them in 12th. They haven't really impressed me in the transfer window. Sorensen's a huge miss, as I said. But for me, defensively, they're good enough to, you know, get points. You know, if you don't concede, you're not going to lose. So that's the positive for Lincoln. But do they have enough, once again, to go at the top end of the pitch? Let's see. In 11th place, I've gone for one of the promoted sides last season. I've gone for Wrexham. A lot of Wrexham fans will be thinking, yeah, we go again and we get promoted again. But I don't think it's that simple this season. I feel like it's time to sort of steady the ship a little bit. And, of course, they'd love to go up to the Championship. But I do feel like if they go up this season, they'll probably will just come straight back down. I feel like they could really do with just having a season now in League One and then next season properly going for it. Of course, it doesn't have to go like that. They've still made a few brilliant moves. The likes of Dan Scarr on a free from Plymouth is a great bit of business. You know, I feel like he's a quality player and he should have stayed in the Championship, but that Wrexham pull is unmatched. The likes of Paul Mullen in there as well, 24 goals last season in League Two. He'll bang them in again. Okonkwo making that deal from Arsenal a permanent deal is a great signing as well. Wrexham are heading in the right direction. They'll finish 11th for the season for me. Get promoted last year. I feel like just stay the ship a little bit, make a few more signings going into next season, and then I think next season they really could be a force for the top two even. So a quality team, Wrexham, they're definitely on the rise. We all know it. But for me, this season, they won't complete the back-to-back promotions. 11th this season for Wrexham. In 10th place, I've gone for another of the promoted sides from last season, the final one, the team that won the division last year, Stockport County. It was a great season last year for Stockport and a really good side. You know, they're looking really solid. The likes of, pardon my pronunciation once again, Ala Orthe, who, you know, scored goals for fun last season for them. Norwood on trial apparently in pre-season for them. Can you imagine them getting that one done? Who's so experienced at, of course, Sheffield United, played in all the divisions with them, of course. Louis Barry coming back is a huge pull. You know, Championship clubs are interested in him, and he's gone back to League One Stockport. They're building a huge project. I wouldn't be surprised if Stockport got into the playoffs. I do feel like they'll finish once again higher than Wrexham. A little bit of a rivalry forming there between them two after, of course, the competitiveness last season. But for me, Stockport finished 10th, but I wouldn't be surprised once again if they got into the playoffs. Into the top 9 then, I've gone in 9th place for Charltonathletic. Under Nathan Jones, who we all know, you know, has done really well at Luton Town, had his time at Southampton as well, so he's managed in the Championship and the Premier League, of course. And I believe he was manager with Luton in League One as well. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. Maybe I'm right. Not too sure. But he's back now with Charlton, of course, appointed towards the end of last season with them. And he's brought in, he's got the pull. He's brought in the likes of Luke Berry, who was playing in the Premier League last season with Luton. Matt Godden, who scores goals even last season with Coventry. It's a good squad. Really good. They're looking solid. I feel like they're on course for a good season. A lot of people are hyping them up to finish in the playoffs. For me, I feel like they'll just miss out. I feel like there's a few better teams in the division this season. But Nathan Jones, he stands that pull to bring in a few more decent players for League One level. Let's see what he can do towards the end of the transfer window. In 8th place, I've gone for Wigan. Last season, they finished 12th, albeit they had an 8-point deduction, which didn't help them, and they still had a solid season. The likes of Charlie Hughes is being linked away, but if Wigan can keep hold of him, they're definitely on course for a good season because he is unreal. The likes of Sam Tickle as well in there. It really is a solid side that Wigan have put together after all the off-the-field issues. They look like they're, slowly going back to one of the best teams in the division once again. And for me, Wigan will finish 8th this season, just missing out on the playoffs. In 7th place and just missing out on the place in the top 6, I've gone for Peterborough United, of course, finishing in the playoffs basically every season. It feels like for Peterborough. A heartbreak last year against Oxford in the semi-finals, of course, but for me, the team that finished 4th last season, we're finishing 7th this season. A few big departures, especially at the back, the likes of Knight leaving, Ronnie Edwards leaving, Harrison Burrows leaving. Ephron Mason-Clark, of course, was sold in January, but loaned back out to them from Coventry. They also lost the likes of course, Clark Harris as well. So for me, to Peterborough, they will slip down a little bit this season, but it'll still be a very good season for them. Peterborough side, who they're going to do their business really well and really smart. So I do trust them that they're going to get a few big players in. They're going to shine yet again, but they will just miss out on the playoffs for me. There's some better sides in the division this season. And I do feel that they'll just slip down. I feel like that builds another back line once again, reforming it. It's going to take, a few weeks to build the chemistry and understanding between the players there. So for me, Peterborough just miss out on the top 6, unfortunately. In 6th place, I've gone for Blackpool. Of course, they missed out on the final day of last season on the playoffs, but of course, the likes of Rhodes, who scored 15 goals last season. The likes of Dembele was there last season as well. He's going to be really difficult to replace. But for me, Blackpool, solid side, always up there. Neil Critchley, of course, doing a great job. And this season, I reckon they get into the playoffs. They dropped a lot of silly points last season. So I feel like they're not far away from getting into the playoffs. And I feel like they'll do it this season, Blackpool, and get back into the playoffs, of course. Into 5th place, I've gone for a side that finished in the playoffs last season. They finished 6th. But this year, they're going to finish in 5th place. I've gone for Barnsley, the signings of Conor Hourihane. He is a set-piece genius, alongside the likes of Luca O'Connell. The only worry for Barnsley is going forward. They haven't really got that quality with the likes of Devante Cole leaving them. But defensively in that midfield, they are stacked. Under Darryl Clark, looking really strong, Barnsley. And I feel like they'll get the playoffs this season. Finished in 5th. Into 4th place, I've got the first of the relegated sides from the Championship last season. All 3 of them looking really strong. But in 4th place, I've got the side that finished 23rd last season, Huddersfieldtown. It was an awful season last year, but over the summer, they've brought in Michael Duff. The owners, of course, are very happy to invest in this side. The likes of Sorensen is a very smart signing. Herbie Kane as well is a genius in midfield. So for me, they're going to have a solid season. Michael Duff, of course, didn't work out at my team Swansea last season. In fact, he was awful. But I do feel like it's the right suited club now, Huddersfield, for Michael Duff. I feel like they have a good season. Of course, the owners are very happy to invest. Yet, as we've mentioned, they have got quite a big pull. Huddersfield, a big club, of course, not long ago in the Premier League. For me, Huddersfield, they will do well this season, but won't get automatic promotion. I don't feel like they're that good of a side, but they will get playoffs at least. 4th place for Huddersfield this season. In 3rd place then, the final playoff spot. We've got, of course, 3 teams left that we haven't mentioned in the video. Birmingham, Bolton and Rotherham. In 3rd place, just missing out on the automatic positions. I've gone for Bolton yet again. Heartbreak. But is it really? Because I have got Bolton actually. Although they're finishing 3rd, I feel like they'll get the job done this season and win the playoffs. 2 years ago, lost in the semi-final of the playoffs. Last season, lost in the final of the playoffs to Oxford, of course. This year, I feel like they're finishing the playoffs, but they get the job done. Likes of course, Aaron Collins in there, Charles in there as well. It's a really solid squad. Of course, Sheehan in midfield, Santos at the back. Really, really good squad for League One. They're going to add a few additions to it as well and make it even better. But for me, it's about time we see Bolton back in the Championship. Great fan base as well. But I just feel like they'll miss out on automatic positions this season. But they'll go up through the playoffs for Bolton. Now, it's really hard deciding second place between third and second. But I do have Rotherham finished in second, just about. For like, you know, there's a lot of positivity around the club at the moment from an outsider. You know, I'm not a Rotherham fan, but from the outside, it seems like there's a lot of positivity. That squad is stacked. You know, they've signed so many players, likes of Rafferty's in there, Clark Harris, who will score goals for fun under Steve Evans, is promising for Rotherham. Steve Evans, of course, did a great job at Stevenage last season, and I feel like, you know, it'll do really well at Rotherham this year again as well. So for me, the side that finished bottom of the Championship will finish second this year. They're a yo-yo club between the Championship and League One, aren't they, Rotherham? They're the Norwich and Fulham of the Championship and Premier League. But no, I feel like Rotherham, they'll go straight back up. But this time, in second place. And winning the league, I feel like everyone has to say this. It's Birmingham City. I mean, how can you not? With Chris Davies at the wheel, the Swans are trying to appoint him in December to be our manager. And I was going to be a huge fan of that one. Of course, he's worked under quite a few managers now. Brendan Rodgers, he's worked under at Swansea. He's worked under, of course, Ange Postecoglou recently at Spurs. He's solid. And now in his first #1 role, it's about time, because I really do rate Chris Davies. He speaks really highly and really well about places. And now in a first chance at Birmingham, he's been backed right to the top. You know, the likes of Alfie May coming in, he'll score loads of goals. Loads of goals. Still keeping hold of Jordan James in League One is ridiculous. He's by far one of the best midfielders. And also in the Championship last season, you know. And for Wales, you know, James is unreal. Mark leagueone as well, who was, you know, unreal at Northampton. And he might not even, you know, be a starting centre midfielder for them, which is ridiculous. Ethan Laird in that squad as well. It is unreal. So Birmingham, the pressure is on them a little bit because of the, you know, the quality, the amount of depth in this side. They've gotta go up again. They gotta win the league, surely. I mean, anything less than the top two would be massively disappointing for Birmingham City. But you know what? I'm going to back the Blues. A great, incredible fan base. And they'll all get behind Chris Davies this season, I'm sure. And they're going to have a super season. Winning the league, I mean, it's hard not to back them with that amount of quality in the side. And a manager who will care and he'll play an attractive brand of football. I feel like they're on course. And not even for this season, but they're building so well that when they go up to the Championship next season, they're going to smash that as well. You know, maybe not promotion, but they'll definitely be higher than they were finishing the last 5 or 6 seasons. They're going to do really well, Birmingham. They're back on track. The owners seem to really care after relegation last year, and Birmingham are on something special. They'll win the league. Well, there we go then. They are my 1 to 24 League One predictions for the 2024-25 season. If you disagree with any, don't complain. Just let me know what you think will happen in the comment section down below. If you did go on to enjoy the video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe down below. Really do appreciate the support, people. And I'll see you in the next one very soon, guys. Not even a week now till the start of the season. Really excited for it. Let's go. Bye, guys. Take care. See you soon.